Now that Dexter's online on the space station and operating on a regular basis, what we've got is we've got a crew who's spending more time doing science. And this is important because this was really the whole idea of building the International Space Station, was to be able to do science in low Earth orbit.
Unfortunately, only about 40% of women who should be getting annual MRI as part of their screening undergo MR screening. Part of the reason why women were not undertaking MRI screening was because of lack of access to the best radiologists locally.
Some women have to drive very long distance, like 7 or 8 hours of car in snowstorm during the winter, sometimes risking their lives just to get their MR-guided breast biopsies.
When we started to do the research with Canadian Space Agency and NASA on the whole remote telesurgery, we started to get involved with MDA. MDA is a Canadian company which has been involved in manufacture of all the robotic systems which is currently used on the space station.
So we developed a system called IGAR, which stands for Image Guided Automated Robot.
IGAR is a tele-operated robot that performs breast biopsies under MRI guidance.
One of the capabilities of IGAR is to be controlled by radiologists from any distance. And that allows basically radiologists to supervise MR breast biopsy on a patient who may be hundreds of kilometers or thousands of kilometers away from them. It means that the patient can undergo their breast biopsy in their own local hospital without having the need to travel to another city or another hospital to get access to the expertise.
And the results are very, very encouraging. So we've demonstrated that the IGAR is safe, extremely accurate as a human.
And this will allow us to hopefully increase the number of people undergoing screening close to 100% where it should be. So IGAR is built on many of the know-how which was developed for the space program, as well as the software which is also used to control the robotics on the space station.
We can actually see some of these technologies we worked with for a long time becoming available. We have a lot of insight on how to apply them, not just in medicine, but in a number of other fields, which is what we're doing. So without the space station, would any of that have happened? No, not really. Not in that way, anyway.
Astronauts on the International Space Station spend some of their time doing science, some of their time keeping their spacecraft operating safely, and sometimes they help explain scientific concepts to students on Earth. In this demonstration video, one-time station commander Sonny Williams guides us as Mark Vande Hei and Jeff Williams make use of the weightless environment to demonstrate Newton's first law of motion.
Hi, I'm Sonny Williams, and I'm an astronaut who's lived and worked aboard the International Space Station, an amazing research laboratory that's orbiting the Earth about 250 miles above us. While we're at the space station, we astronauts live and work in a microgravity environment. Do you think the laws of physics will hold up in the space station while experiencing microgravity? Let's check with NASA astronaut Mark Vande Hei on the International Space Station to find out.
Newton's first law of motion says an object at rest tends to stay at rest unless acted on by an outside force. Also, an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless acted on by an outside force, like my finger.
Let's Let's look at this from another angle. Over time, the International Space Station slows down from experiencing a very small amount of drag, or force, from a tiny amount of atomic oxygen in space. This is like the force you feel from the air if you stick your hand out of a moving car. Because of this, the space station does what we call a reboost. A reboost uses rocket engines to put a force on the space station. This allows it to speed up just a little to remain in orbit around the Earth. Let's join NASA astronaut Jeff Williams to check out what happens to the objects inside the space station when it begins.
Now, the way I'm going to demonstrate the acceleration that comes during the reboost is by using this camera. 800 millimeter lens, so it's pretty massive, actually. And you can see I can float it here, and there's no reboost going on right now, so the camera's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to slowly drift due to the ventilation, or if I put any velocity into it, it'll drift out of the scene. But I'm going to try to hold it here steady, and you can see that it stays very steady. There's my camera. I'm setting it up for ignition. There it goes. It actually came a little bit early. Now watch the camera accelerate toward you. There it goes. I'm going to reach out and grab it and bring it back in the view here. And I'm holding it. I'm actually feeling the acceleration. I'm going to let go again. And here it goes. It's going to take off. I'll try not to let it hit you. Just gonna miss you. Yeah, I'm gonna let go now. And here I go, drifting back toward you again. So the acceleration applies to me too. Reached our 2.7 meters per second that we desired, and now if I let go of the camera, it's not going anywhere, so the burn is over. Reboost complete. We'll stay in orbit for a little while longer.
Can you use Newton's first law to explain why the camera began moving without an astronaut putting a force directly on it? I'm going to send you back to class so you can start to investigate this with the Classroom Connection found at nasa.gov/demonstrations. Thanks for exploring a little physics on the space station with us today. See you again soon.
If you want another look at any of those stories we showed you today, go over to YouTube and Facebook at those addresses right there, and you'll find them all there along with lots of other great features on a whole variety of NASA topics. If you're looking for good conversation about human spaceflight, check out Houston, We Have a Podcast, our weekly show about all aspects of human spaceflight and NASA's missions of exploration. Today we listen in on a detailed discussion of how being in space affects the human body, with space station veteran Victor Glover answering questions from Tom Cruise. Yes, that Tom Cruise. Kind of cool. Go to nasa.gov/podcasts for this week's episode and all our previous episodes, plus the full library of all the NASA podcasts, which are all also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. You can get the latest from all over NASA delivered to you every week. Just go to nasa.gov/subscribe to sign up for the NASA newsletter.
Wherever, however, whenever. We're here, there. We're everywhere. NASA Space Communications and Navigation. Exploration enabled.
Well, in my left hand I have a feather. In my right hand a hammer. And I guess one of the reasons we got here today was because of a gentleman named Galileo a long time ago who made a rather significant discovery about falling objects in gravity fields. And we thought that where would be a better place to confirm his findings than on the moon. And so we thought we'd try it here for you. The feather happens to be appropriately a falcon feather.
Today we're going to talk about nutrition and the role it plays to keep astronauts healthy on the International Space Station. Hi, I'm NASA astronaut Tracy Dyson. Welcome to Station Life.
Houston 2 for velocity confirmation. Assembly steps 45 and 46. We're moving on to step 5.
You want to go right now for that activity?
Copy. Thank you.
Okay, Tracy, we copy, and that's good information. We'll pass it along.
Good nutrition is a part of good health, whether you're on Earth or off. Today's show will focus on nutrition research aboard the International Space Station. That's one small bite for man, one giant leaf for mankind. Astronauts Scott Kelly, Kjell Lindgren, and Kimya Yui of Japan recently sampled the fruits of their labor after growing and harvesting a crop of outrageous red romaine lettuce from the Veggie Plant Growth Facility. This was the first crop of vegetables grown in space, specifically for the purpose of providing fresh vegetables for the astronauts. Later this month, the crew will harvest zinnia flowers, a precursor for the next crop. We're going to try tomatoes.